But I'd like to get Florian up here anyways. You're raising your hand, so you can come right up. And also Claudia. So can we get this mic working as well?
Well, you didn't say something tonight, which you said earlier, namely that this project was your reaction on other digital art that was based on Google you saw and you found terrible because it was just using Google as a backend and didn't criticize it. So this was your solution of how you can do digital art with Google. Would you say this is the only solution?
I don't.
I wouldn't. So. If I would know, I wouldn't talk about it. Actually, what do you think?
Yeah, almost the same, I think. But there are many ways. The core is to think about Google not in terms of its own interface, its own services aesthetic, as many artists do, but we break this famous porcelain to see the core, and the core for them is advertisement, because everything else is free. But advertisement is where their 500 to a few days ago share is based. And for us, the click fraud was their Achilles heel. Yeah, there should be many, but
maybe the data collection would be something interesting, but that someone else should do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody else? The quiet crowd. Okay, I wanted to get all of you up here just to be able to have a sort of more open and general talk, because there's a lot of things that also overlapped in things that you were talking about, and certainly I think that the notion of the FUD is pervasive in all these presentations and these discussions. So fear, uncertainty, doubt, and it's quite interesting that whenever we get into this subject matter of let's say manipulative practice, or what we may call conspiracy theory in a populist or popular manner, that is very much tied to American popular culture. I mean, your stuff you were talking about in terms of Roswell is sort of completely sort of American sci-fi culture. The sense of, let's say, fear and unease that is a requirement of all of us around the world by the American government in terms of, let's say, justifying the war on terror. I mean, the notion of FUD, it could be said is the motto of the American government, and we have to live in this constant sense of fear in order to kind of, you know, survive, I guess, our condition, and to legitimize these power structures. And it would be interesting to hear from you guys. I mean, how does this play out in other cultures, in other contexts? Of course, in Europe, but also, for example, in emerging technological, let's say, empires like India or China, with other kinds of mechanisms and power struggles and power plays working.
Well, you referenced the German Spiegel article this morning, and that had a sociological theory about the popularity of conspiracy theories in America, which I don't quite buy into, but maybe I should just repeat it here. They said that because American society is so diverse and consists of so many competing groups, that these groups are always suspicious about each other. I think maybe that is one factor, but another factor for sure is, well, I'm getting on thin ice now, and I'm really exposing myself to criticism here. I would say it seems to me as if cultures that have a positive notion of eccentricity and a higher individualism are also more likely to be dissenting and therefore also to produce conspiracy theories. And this is why, for example, in, say, sociologically more homogeneous cultures, a conspiracy can happen, but then it can really get out of control, like in Germany in the 1930s, where there was one conspiracy a whole society bought into. Then another thing I would say is, in America, I would say it has really to do also with the religious history of America. Namely the particular kind of Protestantism and Puritanism that very much is influenced by Gnosticism and Gnostic religion. And I could have gone farther back into history in my talk and also talk about Gnosticism and its factual reversal of common religion. It was basically also a religious conspiracy theory. Namely, it said that the Christian God and the Jewish God is not the real God, because the world is evil, and so if the God has created the world, he cannot be good. He must be evil, so God is the devil, and he's not the real God. He's just a sub-God who created this evil world, and there is the real God above him, who is the good God, and that was one of the main religious movements, also underground movements. Around the origins of Christianity. And Christianity took over quite a lot of elements of Gnosticism, also with the idea of you say a Manichaean distinction between good and evil, but the Manichaeans were one of those Gnosticist sects because their leaders was called Mani, so they were the followers of Mani. And Puritanic religion, extreme Protestantism, Calvinism, took over these Gnostic ideas rather than Catholicism and more moderate Protestantism. For example, also if we speak about Rosicrucians, Illuminati, Freemasons, they were basically all on the Calvinist side of Protestantism. Then also with Catholic counter-reaction, emulating that model and inventing the Jesuits and the Opus Dei as a counter-conspiracy. But I think it's very much linked to a history of heretic religious thought that has very much embedded itself into everyday American culture with its very weird religiosity and very weird partisan non-mainstream churches.
Did you want to comment on American pop culture?
I have this the whole time because I'm very. I can elaborate very much on it, but like I found a lot of people that would make a relationship between this kind of theories and the build-up of myths with it. Yeah? Mm-hmm. The structure of myths. And I see, like, for instance, I come from Brazil, and this kind of, the fear of technology and the idea of UFOs, they're very, very, very related. And also, like, all those stories about how much the CIA knows what's under the ground of in Brazil or whatever. But, like, I ask myself if it's not more universal than just American stories. That's my point. Like every culture has its myths.
But it seems to me as if in Europe there is a stronger tendency of mainstreaming society. And that therefore also, perhaps also as a result of the Second World War, that conspiracy theories are under a higher taboo. And that, because they easily, just as there's a taboo on nationalism and so on, it doesn't mean that this doesn't exist and that conspiracy theories don't exist, but they are not voiced as openly. Also because there is a lesser free speech ethos in European countries. I would say that the multiplicity of conspiracy theories in American culture have very much to do with the free speech idea, and that you cannot set up your own radio station and make your 24 hours CNN where you just spread weird conspiracy theories, which you simply cannot do in Europe because you don't have that. Yeah. Except free speech laws. Yeah.
Except that just this mainstream though of Europe is also basically the ground in which these, let's say, art forms of let's say, structural dissent in a certain way take place. I mean, GWEI, the work of 01100.org, etc., they're all coming out of a kind of a critical European perspective and all this, and not out of the States, so that's also kind of interesting. But Alessandro, he's got his mic.
No, I have my. I wanted to add just a couple of notes from Italy. That I know that the time of, that fits into this European approach, but if I think about Italy specifically, conspiracy theories have always permeated the underground territory and also were very popular among the leftists. But it was also popular to trying to deconstruct the media mechanism, like the constant emergency, as you said. I remember that even at the beginning of the first Gulf War in '91, there was a group of autonomists in Bologna that sprayed most of the city with this two human figures, and the phrase was "Stop the panic." During the start of real panic that was because for the first Gulf War we were started to really feel under war at the beginning. And this became also popular to organize party like Stop the Panic, Let's Dance. So really trying to have fun deconstructing this media mesmerizing attention. And about the fun and playing with this concept, I would also remember, because you were also mentioning 01 and artists like that, another group, Italian group called Guerrilla Marketing, that has developed a video game called What Next that was very controversial in Italy. It raised media attention because it was a simple game based on Google Maps where you have to predict the next terrorist attack. And you should put a place on the map and say, yeah, for me it will be here for this reason. The only rule is that it will be, of course, in the future, and there will be 10 deaf people not directly involved in the attack. And the guys from Guerrilla Marketing said that it was extremely popular and take as serious, but also fun at the same time. Also, the point of this work for me is really to deconstruct this continuous emergency in a way that could be manipulated also by everyone, breaking this attention made by mainstream media.
That reminds me actually that immediately after 9/11, the Pentagon invited a whole group of Hollywood screenwriters by action movies. There is this one movie, and I forgot its title, it's with Bruce Willis, in New York as the captain of a special troop, and there are Islamist terrorists that smuggle an atom bomb into New York and it explodes, and that movie was made before 9/11. And so the Pentagon really had the idea, well, those screenwriters, they had all these ideas, and they came true. Really, I'm a big fan of action movies, and I saw them all in the 1980s and 1990s, and really what I also thought 9/11, this is like from an action movie, and I've seen this on screen, and now I see it on TV. And so they really had the idea, we take the screenwriters to the Pentagon and let them develop scenarios. What could be next? In order to predict what might be the next threat. And I think actually in that case of that game, the Pentagon should have seized it there. They should have adopted it and said, okay, that gives us empirical data. Maybe we can do our strategical planning based on that game. Right? And that, again, this is, I think, typical for the dynamic of something that goes from the underground and the overground and forth and back. I think this seems to be the permanent structure of any conspiracy model.
Yeah, well, rumor has it that Rotterdam is the next hit, being the world's largest oil port.
Today?
So, well, today it is still, and it still is here. But that is just, you know, the rumor. As it's going around. So if there's no further questions or commentary, I guess we'll still be here. Thank you very much, Florian, Alessandro, Hans, and Claudia.